Hello and welcome into another episode of Just Jets, episode 223. What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary, going to be hanging out with you for another one of these bad boys. A week after OTAs, a couple days after Memorial Day weekend. I really don't miss having to work in an office job after Memorial Day week. The Tuesday after Memorial Day, which is when I am recording this now, is a bottom 3 work day in the American calendar year. Just awful. First time you catch a little sunburn, maybe had too many pops over the weekend. You're struggling your first day back. I don't miss that. I feel very, 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 very blessed that I get to work in the candy factory here, getting to talk sports on the internet, which is just, again, I'm truly blessed, but it's a tough one for you. So if you're suffering through your Wednesday, it's your second day back, hopefully this episode makes it a little bit easier for you. There's a few things in Jets land that I want to get into today. And one is having to do with an offensive lineman that the Jets were once again kind of linked to. The second one has to do with a report from Tom Pelissero that OTAs may not exist anymore and that impact on the New York Jets. And of course, your voicemails. But let's start with a name that's been talked about forever with this New York Jets team, David Bakhtiari. I saw an article this week talking about David Bakhtiari because we got the Ian Rappaport tweet sent out, which was clearly coming from the agents, where it's saying like, hey, Bakhtiari's good, he's healthy, he's ready to go for training camp. In parentheses, please someone sign my client. And David Bakhtiari is very, very close with Aaron Rodgers. They were at the Kentucky Derby a few weeks ago together, and that's been a name, again, linked to the Jets for the last 2 years. And I've kind of maintained this stance, but especially now, I don't know how you bring in David Bakhtiari. I understand that he has a relationship with Aaron Rodgers and he's just a veteran depth, right? But he doesn't play. He hasn't played a full season in a very, very long time. He's missed a ton of games over the last 4 years. When on the field, is he excellent? Yes. But they already have 5 offensive tackles on this roster. They don't need another offensive tackle. You have Tyron Smith, who you signed in free agency, Olu Fashanu, who you took 11th overall, Morgan Moses, who you traded for, Carter Warren, who you're still trying to develop, and Max Mitchell's also still kicking around. They don't need another tackle. If anything, you can make a case this team needs an interior player, because right now, Wes Schweitzer's your number 1 guy. Your number 1 backup interior option is Wes Schweitzer, or you got like Jake Hansen or Xavier Newman. If the articles coming out now were like, hey, maybe bring back Connor McGovern again for a nickel, then yeah, I could get behind that and we could have that legitimate conversation. Or if not Connor McGovern, insert any other available interior offensive linemen in the free agency market. That would make significantly more sense than adding Bakhtiari to push Carter Warren or Max Mitchell off the roster. How many offensive linemen are they going to carry? That's only listing the top guys right now. Okay, so let's count in our heads how many guys are going to make the roster. Smith, Fashanu, Moses, Warren, Mitchell is 5 right there. You have 3 more starters that we didn't include yet. In Elijah Vera Tucker, you also have Joe Tippmann and John Simpson. Wes Schweitzer's going to make it. That's 9 right there. You're going to carry 10 offensive linemen and 6 of them be tackles? I don't think so. I don't believe that to be the case unless they really view Max Mitchell as an interior guy. But even still, I don't know. It's May, almost June of 2024. They signed 2 veterans in Smith and Moses. Or they traded for Moses, but you know the deal. They brought in 2 new vets to play tackle, and they also drafted someone in the first round after drafting tackles in back-to-back drafts in 2022 and 23 in the mid-rounds. They don't need David Bakhtiari. This is one that I don't get. I really don't get it. It doesn't matter if it's for the veteran minimum. They don't need him. Use that money, spend it on the interior offensive line, spend it on the safety room, spend it on bringing in another wide receiver. All fine options. But another tackle? You want to bring in Bakhtiari to be OT tackle, OT 6 on this team? Not me. Definitely not me on that one. So I'm going to say hard pass on David Bakhtiari. The second thing that we want to get into today is a new NFL rule. So apparently there's a chance, according to Tom Pelissero, that OTAs could no longer be a thing as early as 2025. Here's the full quote. Ending of OTAs, the NFL Player Association is working to finalize a proposal to overhaul the offseason starting as soon as 2025, eliminating voluntary on-field work in spring in favor of longer training camp ramp-ups, with players reporting in mid-June to early July. I don't know how veterans are expected to handle that. Now, you would think, well, is it more ramp up good? Because have you seen the quality of play early on in the season? I get that, and that's a legit concern if they go to an 18-game schedule sooner rather than later. But the reality, in my opinion, is you're going to get guys, if they're not getting in the building in late April or early May, that extends their off season longer, and I think you are more likely to see people come in out of shape at that point, which makes things a little bit more challenging. And for the vets, like, how are you gonna? It's hard enough. Training camp is hard enough on some of these vets. How are they gonna endure another 3 to 4 weeks of training camp practices? We gotta go through, jump through hoops to ramp up guys like Tyron Smith right now, and you want to extend it by a month? I don't see the benefit of this one. Now, I guess for the Players Association, they just want, a little bit more time in their offseason. I understand that. But we're talking about, what is voluntary work, OTAs? So 2 weeks in May? It gets you into, some football vibe. I don't think that this is the way to go, for me at least, with the mid-June, early July training camp practices for, again, that'd be like 2 full months of training camp practices before you get onto the field and play regular season games in September. I don't know. I think you're asking for more injury that way. I think you're asking for the average age in the NFL to keep going lower and lower, because I don't know how these guys are going to last. Or you're just going to get a slew of old free agent signings in like August. And it's going to be like, well, Dwayne Brown, for example, like, he's not going to want to go through training camp. Why would he sign in April or March and have to, go through all of June, July, and August when he could just sign in August? Not for me. I don't think this is the way that they should go in the NFL for the future of the league. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, that is the future and that is the way that they're going to end up going with this thing. But I just don't see how this ends up working out as a positive for not only the New York Jets, but just in general. There's so many injuries around the league, and like, this is going to be the way to go. I don't buy it. I don't think that's the right call here. So anyway, that's my takes on both topics in the monologue. Let's get into your voicemails for the topics of the day, the questions of the day. Wanting to start with Max calling in from New Jersey. He has some thoughts on the Nathaniel Hackett story, where the Jets apparently try to replace Nathaniel Hackett.
Hi, this is Max Matoy from Homeland, New Jersey, and I want to talk about there's this report. So last week there was a report from SNY's Connor Hughes saying that the Jets were trying to replace Nathaniel Hackett as offensive and try to get someone as offensive coordinator. I think this report is true, and I think it should have happened that the Jets should have fired Nathaniel Hackett, because last year our offense was just terrible. This is the worst offense I've seen. I mean, you could talk about Adam Gase having a terrible offense. Hackett had an even worse offense with backup quarterbacks. He only had 13 touchdowns. It's probably the lowest since the 1950 Chiefs. Hopefully next year Hack can get fired. What's your thoughts on this report, and go Jets?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not good. And the Jets were absolutely horrendous last year offensively. You're not going to get anyone, any denial on that. It was really bad. But I hope that Aaron Rodgers and this Jets team performs well enough offensively that they are not looking to make major changes to the coaching staff. So I get it. This is not a declaration of I want Nathaniel Hackett's great. He's awesome. I agree with you that they probably tried to move on, Max, in the offseason from Nathaniel Hackett. And they clearly tried to make an attempt, but it didn't work. And now this is their plan. And I hope that at the end of the day, the Jets go out, win 11, 12 games, go on a run in the playoffs, and we're not worrying about firing the offensive coordinator, because the offense was bottom 5 in the league again. I really hope that's not the case. So I get what you're saying, where it's you hope that after the year they move on from Nathaniel Hackett. I hear you. I think there's absolutely an opportunity for improvement, but that means you probably underachieved in 2024. And I really hope that's not the case. And the biggest detractors of the New York Jets right now point to two things, or three really. Head coach, Robert Saleh, unproven. Offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, not good. Aaron Rodgers at his age coming off the injury. Those are three very big question marks. Hopefully they get answered in a positive way for the New York Jets in 2024. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. Main Jet is calling in. He wants to talk about Sauce Gardner traveling with opposing wide receivers. All right, let's do it.
Hi, Matt. This is Main Jet. I just saw something on social media that says that Sauce Gardner will be traveling with the opposing team's wide receiver. It sounds like, to me, that they are going to utilize Sauce Gardner the way Rex Ryan utilized Darrelle Revis back in the day. That is, following the opposing receivers, wherever he lines up, and no safety over the top. Essentially, a numbers advantage. I want to know your feelings on this. I can include the link if you wish to see that, and I want to know your thoughts on this. Personally, my thoughts are the following. Sauce Gardner is not anywhere near as good as Darrelle Revis was. Darrelle Revis was the best corner that I ever saw, and I don't care what the people supporting Deion said because he played offense. Who gives a shit about playing offense? You keep the argument within the confines of cornerback, and that's what Darrelle Revis was. I never saw anybody as dominant in the 2009-2010 season as Darrelle Revis was. Now, I want to hear what your thoughts on that are. Do you believe what is being said? If you don't, tell me why. And if you do, tell me if it will work out or whether you think it will not. Once again, God bless, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Really good call, Main Jet. So I think you're going to get, and not for me because I would have had the reaction already, but I think you're going to get a negative reaction from some Jet fans by saying that Sauce Gardner isn't, Darrelle Revis, which, Darrelle Revis is a Hall of Famer, and Sauce Gardner could very well be that one day. He's been awesome through his first 2 years in the league. He had a better first two seasons than what Darrelle Revis had in his first 2 years in the league, but we have to see over the next 5 to 10 years where he ends up. I'm not ready to crown Sauce Gardner as the best. In my opinion, Darrelle Revis is the best all-around Jet. I know Joe Namath is going to be up there for a lot of people and winning the Super Bowl, but Darrelle Revis I think is closer to being the best corner of all time than Joe Namath is to being the best quarterback of all time, which is why I would rank him higher. I wish he won something with the Jets. But looking at Darrelle Revis' 2009 season, for anyone who's either too young to remember or just does not remember just how dominant he was in 2009, here's the numbers for you. So he allowed 41 receptions, on 111 targets, which was a 36.9 reception percentage, 425 receiving yards allowed, 2 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. He had 23 pass breakups, and NFL and the passer rating against when he was targeted was 32.3. Just an absolutely absurd number. Absurd dominance. Again, I agree with Main Jet. I've never seen anything like that 2009 season, and I don't know if we'll ever see it again. The Sauce Gardner, as a rookie, I'll give you his 2-year stats, was targeted 73 times in 2022, a 45.2 reception percentage, 361 yards allowed, 1 touchdown allowed, 2 interceptions, 14 pass breakups, and a 53.5 passer rating allowed. This past year was targeted 51 times, a 56.9 reception percentage, 251 yards, 1 touchdown allowed, no interceptions, 10 pass breakups, 76.5 rating. I think the best way that I would say it now, I think Darrelle Revis is cream of the crop. Sauce Gardner is the best cornerback in the NFL right now with PS2 as Patrick Surtain. In my opinion, those two are in a tier of their own. And I think it's a good thing that Sauce Gardner is traveling, because while he might not be, or no one will ever be like 2009 Darrelle Revis, this is the best cornerback in football, and he's good in man coverage. The Jets play a lot of zone, but he's good in man coverage. I love his lankiness. He has the reach, the makeup speed. If you were to build your perfect corner in a lab, Sauce Gardner gets it with his size and speed. The biggest criticism is the lack of interceptions. I think eventually those will come. He does not get targeted at nearly the same rate. Again, in 2009, Revis had 111 targets against. I don't know, people were dumb and threw the ball his way 111 times. Sauce Gardner in his career, over a 2-year period, has been targeted 124 times. 51 last year and 73 the year prior. So quarterbacks are not going his way nearly as much as what they were against Darrelle Revis. It's a hard comparison. I don't want it to pin these two guys against each other, because I think as Jet fans we should appreciate, I'm not necessarily saying that this is what Main Jet did either, but moral of the story, I think Jet fans should appreciate just the dominance that we've seen at that position over the last 20 years with Darrelle Revis from the late 2000s into early 2010s and Sauce Gardner in the 2020s. It's been really, really something truly special. So I think it's a good thing that they're doing it, because last year I thought they got a little too stubborn. They tried to stick to their guns when it was not working. Like David Njoku was had a monster first half against the New York Jets, and they just kept putting the same guys on him. DJ Reed got beat by Jalen Waddle over the top, in a game against Miami where Tyreek Hill didn't play. Like, there was just some things where you'd rather put Sauce on your guy's number one, and it's not going to be every single play. Robert Saleh had comments on it where they're going to do it more, which is fine, but it's not going to be exactly like how they utilized Darrelle Revis under Rex Ryan, because again, it's going to be used sparingly. So it'll depend on situation. Let's go out to Tommy in Nassau up next. He wants to talk about the solid doubters.
Hey, Matt. Tommy, I'm in Nassau County. I just wanted to touch base with you about video you just put out about Robert Saleh and all the doubts that everybody has about Robert Saleh. He's only a defensive coach. And I just want to point something out. The Jets have had the bottom of the barrel as far as quarterback play for the past, 2, 4, how many years running? And still, last year, right after Aaron Rodgers goes down, the team is composed and they pull out a gutsy win against the Bills. And as the season wore on, and once Zach Wilson fell off the cliff that he did, the entire team played their hearts out and somehow managed to get 7 wins. And that is a direct correlation to his leadership, because any other team with a lesser coach, they start to fall apart. Zach Wilson, nobody wants to see this kid on the field. How do you keep that locker room together? He's a leader. You know, a lot of these guys, they get touted as being offensive geniuses. You know who they said was an offensive genius? Adam Gase. A spread defense is exactly what the Jets have always been known for. That's what we're good at. Aaron Rodgers is going to figure this offense out. It's not right away. Give him the first 3 weeks to get back to his own self. I'm expecting comeback player of the year and MVP out of him.
Oh, wow.
Anything less than I will be shocked and amazed. I feel like Salah's job is safe. That's pretty much my point. Anyway, love the show, kid. Keep on doing what you're doing. Let's go, Jets.
Tommy, I appreciate you, and I appreciate the positivity. For me, on Robert Saleh, I think I'm not nearly as negative as most Jet fans are on Robert Saleh. I don't think I'm as positive as you are, which is fine. I am very much so in a let's wait and see with Saleh. This is it. This is his test in 2024. If this team underachieves and fails, there's a good chance that it's going to fall on him for coaching decisions, because the roster's in a really good spot right now. I think this is by far the best quarterback situation he's ever had. If Tyrod Taylor was on the Jets and starting for them either of the last 2 years, they're a playoff team. Probably both years. If Tyrod Taylor started 17 games for the Jets in 2022 and 2023, Jets have 10 wins in each of the last 2 seasons. I genuinely believe it. They won 7 games with Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, and Tim Boyle last year, and they won 7 games the year prior with Zach Wilson, Chris Streveler, and Mike White, and Joe Flacco. So, again, I think let's see how he does with the real quarterback under center. And I don't know if I'm as optimistic on Aaron Rodgers. I hope he plays like an MVP. If he does, then the Jets have a very good chance to win the Super Bowl this year. They genuinely do. My expectation for him is to play as a top 12 quarterback, be an above average quarterback, because if he does that, the Jets are going to be extremely competitive for a playoff spot. They'll be extremely competitive for the division, because I think it's going to be very tight between the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Buffalo Bills. And I think they'll be right in the mix in the AFC. And that's just with the top 12. Anything better than that, if he's a top 5 quarterback, or like you're saying, an MVP level quarterback, then the Jets probably winning 14 games this year, which sign me the hell up for that. Let's go out to Billy Bilstein. Haven't heard from him in a while. He's got a life lesson for us, apparently, at the end of this call, too, apparently. That's in my notes. All right, let's hear him.
Hello, Matthew O'Leary. This is Billy Bilstein. Long time listener. Haven't called in for a few weeks. Caller. I would like to talk about this new young man they have in the slot receiver position named Malachi Corley. Do you think that his game will translate to the NFL?
Yes.
We have to remember that he played for Western Kentucky, and I don't know if the competition really means anything. I mean, there's lots of good players in the Pee Wee League, but that just because they're good doesn't mean that we know they can play in the NFL. So I don't know. Like, when you go on the air with Green Bean, I get concerned because he could be a bad influence on you.
Come on.
You must make good life choices Matthew O'Leary. It's important not to make bad life choices and end up like a homeless person in Newark, New Jersey. So please, when someone comes to you and tries to sell you drugs, just say no, Matthew O'Leary. It's not that you shouldn't experiment in life and pursue highs, but drugs are not going to do it for you as a permanent, sustainable solution. If you look around at the world, you will see lots of people who regret doing addictive drugs, Matthew O'Leary. So stay away. Oh, I forgot to talk about the Jets.
Oh, come on. Come on. Oh, my God. Oh, man. Billy Bilstein just threw Green Bean clean under the bus. I will not stand for it on this program. Billy, I appreciate your concern. Do not worry. I am okay in that department. I am shocked at the bus that just ran over Green Bean. Wow. That was something. That was something. That was something. Green Bean is, I know he's listening. He listens to all the Just Jets episodes. I appreciate Green Bean, one of my closest friends in this industry that we have here, and one of my close, Jets content creator friends. He is nothing but a positive influence on everyone at this point. His story, I think, is a blessing. It it really shows what you can overcome in this life. So I am very happy to know Green Bean. I respect Green Bean. So, and he's not a bad influence on me, Billy. Peter from the beautiful Hudson Valley. Close us out.
Hey, Matt. It's Peter from up in the rainy, wet Hudson Valley from today. Calling in this week to get give you a question, sort of a game to play to try and answer based on where we're at with the Jets' current roster. And thinking back over the fact that Joe Douglas has been the Jets' general manager for 5 years or so, and all the players that have come and gone on the Jets roster during that time, and I was thinking to myself, we know where the current roster is. It's obviously a lot more improved than it has been over the past couple of years, but still could probably use some more depth on the interior offensive line, maybe another wide receiver, maybe some depth in the secondary. Since they're switching, Isaiah Oliver over to safety, maybe we need another corner. So, besides some of the most obvious answers of the guys that are no longer playing with the Jets but are still playing in the league, like Bryce Hoff, is there anyone else you'd want to add back to the Jets roster if, money wasn't, a key consideration? The Jets had enough money to do so. Like one example would be Nate Herbig, to fill in on the offensive line. My biggest one would be, say, Bryce Hall, and bring him back in the secondary as another corner. Like to see him, get a shot at being depth on the Jets roster again if things were equal. So let me know your thoughts on that and who you would like to, add back to the Jets if, everything was upsetting and could happen. And as always, go Jets.
Thank you for the call, Peter. Really good question. Bryce Huff is the easy one to just be like, oh, I'd love Bryce Huff back on this team. Bryce Hall is an interesting answer. Wasn't expecting that one out of you, but for depth purposes, okay. McGovern's a name that I brought up earlier in the episode, so McGovern I'd like to toss out there. But I'll give you another one that maybe we forgot about a little bit. What about Corey Davis? So he comes out of retirement or stepping away from football last year. And he's still a free agent, hasn't signed anywhere. We know that he wanted to go somewhere closer to home for him, which is in the South, but nothing's really materialized yet. I think he would be a really good fourth option for the Jets here, even after missing a year, with Malachi Corley, Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson in front of him. If Corey Davis is wide receiver 4 in the mix with Alan Lazard after that, and then you get into Brownlee and Gibson and those guys, or if Charles for special teams reasons, I think adding the depth at wide receiver would be a good one. I tried to think of safety, like Jamal Adams is out there. I want no part of Jamal Adams back. Marcus May, I think, is washed anyway at this point in his career. I don't think either one of those guys would be good fits for the Jets. And there's not really another name out there. It's Jason Pinnock? Maybe. Jason Pinnock. Maybe that's my name at safety. But I like Corey Davis the best, I think, for this exercise. But a really good question. I appreciate that one. So, guys, that'll do it for me on this episode of the Just Jets podcast. Make sure to tune in again next week and stay tuned on the channel throughout the week for all New York Jets content. Guys, thanks so much. I'm Matt. I'll catch you next time.